to begin that. All right. All right. Okay. So hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Coran. I'm the founder with Random Acts of Green, and we're super excited today to be leading this webinar on sustainable package labeling webinar with our two Green Act business members, Hub Labels and UPM Raffletac. We are going to be talking a little bit today about sustainable packaging and how to green your label and make it more sustainable for consumers. Packaging is kind of known as a bad environmental word in a lot of ways, and so people don't really like to talk about it as it can be seen as evil thing to include, but as we all know, we do need packaging and labels to market to people, and most products have packaging and labels. So it's great to try to make them as green as possible, which is why we're lucky today to have two experts in the field to kind of teach us a little bit more on how to do that. So before we begin, I just wanted to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to our First Nations for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. I'd like to just talk a little bit about what it means to be a Random Acts of Green member. I just wanted to get started saying that Random Acts of Green is a very community-led organization. We're very collaborative, and we believe in community, ripple effects, mistakes, failing and trying again, and being perfectly imperfect. And we believe in being positive and non-judgmental, and we really want people to work together to make an impact. And we do various things in order to accomplish this, including we have an app, social media platforms, a whole business member community, as well as an individual member community that really brings people together and empowers them to take action as a community, as we all know that feeling that it feels like you're one person, you can't really do anything. And Random Acts of Green exists to help people overcome that feeling of apathy and eco guilt, to work together to make that impact that we're all looking for, and feeling that sense of belonging to a community. So that's really what it means to be a member. We're happy to have UPM and Hub as members. So let's hear a little bit about the two Random Acts of Green business members today, UPM Raffletac and Hub Labels, and how they're working together to build a more sustainable world. So we'd like to introduce UPM Raffletac first. So UPM Raffletac are leading the industry by creating new sustainable labeling solutions that reduce the use of non-renewable materials and treat waste as a valuable resource. Some of UPM Raffletac's environmental targets include being 100% certified fiber by 2030, zero waste to landfill, 100% of their plastic packaging to be recyclable, reusable, or compostable by 2025, and being committed to the UN business ambitions for 1.5 degrees Celsius and the science-based targets to mitigate climate change. So that's awesome. Deserves kind of a mini round of applause. So great work to UPM. The next is we're going to be speaking today with Hub Labels, and they're going to be telling us a little bit more about some of their solutions too as well. Hub Labels is a pressure-sensitive labeling converter located in Hagerstown, Maryland. In 2020, Hub Labels was awarded a Sustainable Green Printing Partnership certification, which is a mouthful to say, which requires participating companies to complete continuous improvements projects related to sustainability. In 2019, they became 100% landfill free, which eliminated over 750,000 pounds of waste to landfills annually. They found an alternative to bubble wrap by repurposing waste cardboard and shredding. This eliminated 91,200 feet of bubble wrap annually, which is pretty awesome. So that's just a little bit there about Hub Labels. At Hub Labels, sustainability is a business model and pillar of our success. We will continue to be dedicated to labeling products that lead to a smarter future. So thanks so much to Hub Labels. That also deserves a mini round of applause. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce both of our speakers here today to talk a little bit more about sustainable and labeling packaging solutions. They have a lot more expertise than we do, and we're excited to learn and gather some knowledge from them, and also inspire our community afterward with this recording, as well as a sort of a follow-up of key messages. So I'd like to introduce Ravi Rataram. He is a technical sales manager at UPM Raffletac, America's and also acts as the sustainability sales consultant to customers and brand. He has 20 years of experience in the labeling, converting, and printing industry. And prior to working at UPM, he was a technical manager and product development engineer with 2 different label converters and a chemist in the inks and coating side of the printing industry. So he knows a lot about what we're talking about today. And next is Shauna Snyder. She's the senior label and packaging representative at Hub Labels, and she has been providing pressure-sensitive label solutions for over 10 years and has helped many clients streamline their label programs to create cost efficiencies and reach their sustainability goals. As a leader in the label industry, Shauna has had the opportunity to work with major retailers and brands who have faced increasing demands to create eco-friendly packaging and labels. So without further ado, we're going to pass things over now to Ravi and Shauna, and they're going to be sharing their presentation that they've developed. So Ravi, you are now the host, and take it away, and thanks again.
Okay, so give me a second here and I will pull that up. And okay. This is always a project to try to get everything shared properly.
All good.
There we go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Ravi Ratiram. I am technical sales manager at UPM Raffletech. I work closely with Shauna and Hub Labels on various projects. So today we're just going to go over some sustainable labeling solutions. And Shauna, I'll let you kind of just chime in real quick and introduce yourself, and then we'll start.
Hi, my name is Shauna Snyder, and I'm the Prime Segment Manager here at Hub Labels. And we are very proud, and we take sustainability very passionate. And I love helping my customers achieve their sustainability goals as well.
Okay. And there we go. All right, so when we started doing some of these presentations, we went through and started looking at some of the statistics out in the marketplace and came up with a few that seem extremely relevant to what we're trying to do. We found that about 63% of Americans say that a company's environmental reputation has a moderate to strong impact on their purchasing intent. So we looked at that number and said, well, let's compare it to where it used to be. So back in 2014, that number was only about 25%. We go back a little bit further, 12 years from today, and that number is about 6%. So it's a big jump going, looking at where we were just about 12 years ago to where we are today, and the impact of sustainability and how important it's become to the average consumer. We've looked at these numbers and felt, as a company, UPM felt it important to start producing more and more products and bringing it to the marketplace that are going to fit the needs of brand owners, where they're looking for something that is a little bit more environmentally friendly. So our thoughts was to give products to the label printers that are also going to be able to hit that goal. So Shauna.
Yes, so it's really where you think about sustainability. So what is driving that decision? Is it your company's goals, that your company themselves have goals to be more sustainable? Is it your customers? Are they, coming back to you with feedback that they would, they like your product, but they'd like it to be a little bit more sustainable? Is it the packaging trends that you see out there that you're trying to keep up with the market? And, also, who are you selling into? Is it, everybody knows the big box stores, the Walmarts, the Targets, they all have sustainability goals as well. Therefore, a lot of their vendors need to hit certain benchmarks. So it's really looking at what's driving your decision and where you want to be and finding the right labeling partner to do that with. Again, Hub is landfill free. I know when I first started with Hub Labels, Thomas is so passionate about, he wanted our company to get there. And, it took, I think, 7 years and they hit that goal, and we're still today finding ways to become more sustainable. And again, that is coming to our customers and saying, how can we help you? So once that happens, bringing us in early is important. And that's why we partner with Ravi and our vendors, because as a collaborative and as a team effort, it's a lot better to be able to start at the beginning and find the best solution for you. You can move so how do we do that? So we first, there's two different ways we can approach this. What I love to do is a label audit. So what that consists of is from start to finish. When your label is off the press, hits your floor, and goes onto your product. So we look from start to finish on different options for you. And that it could be other than just material, but that's where we start. So we look for efficiencies on your press, or on your line. Are you getting the amount of labels, the amount of, are you utilizing your max OD? So are you putting as many labels as you can? And then we look at materials, and that's where we start. What materials are you currently using, and what could be a little bit more sustainable? And everything kind of goes into those buckets. And we always deal with customers, and there's some people that say, nope, my materials are fine. Okay, are they? Were they fine 10 years ago, or are they fine now? So it's understanding, it's kind of getting them to switch their mindset that, yeah, that is what you're used to, and I know you don't want to change, but there might be something better for you, something better for your lines, and even something better for your customers. And of course, there's price-driven customers where, well, I want it the cheapest possible. Okay, I understand. Let's look at your budget and let's look at your goals and see, do they align? And is there little steps that we can take to, maybe not change all of your material, but, maybe your liner, that isn't going to cost a lot. And then there's customers, like probably everybody on this call, who is focused on quality and sustainability and who really want to meet their goals. So when we have a customer like that, we understand what their goals are, how far they want to take it, and, give them options. And it's not just, black and white. There are so many different product offerings. So it's really aligning their goals to, what we have to offer. And it's small steps. Everybody can take that step. It doesn't mean you just all or nothing. It's taking those small steps and moving it to the next level. You can change to the next slide. Doing my research, I found this really neat fact that in 2019, only 16% of the products out there represented sustainable products. Now, that did grow from 2015 to 2019, so you can see that the trend is increasing, but overall, it's still a small section that we can grow. But customers, depending on what your products are, also willing to pay more for that product because it's sustainable. And go ahead.
So remember, we started this thing in 2009. Only 6% of consumers could name the brand that was environmentally conscious. Now, customers are willing to actually pay more based on Shauna's research. So it's definitely a trend that's changing in the marketplace. So again, we recognize that there are changes that are happening today that are causing us to look at things a little bit differently. So we've looked at the value chain and how to achieve the circular economy that we all kind of tend to discuss. And about 9 months ago, Shauna and I had a conversation. She called me up. We were talking about a specific bid that they were working on, and we looked at the materials that are available. And you obviously have the option to go with a Me Too or standard everyday product that is considered non-renewable virgin raw material. And we could always go that route. That's what the end user is using today. So we can stick with it. It's an easy, safe choice. And so if you look at a linear economy, you use a non-renewable virgin raw material. it just kind of moves through the chain and it ends up into landfill or incineration. Our proposal, our goal is to start using more products that fit into the circular economy, something that's going to reduce the burden on virgin raw material, start using products that are more recyclable or have recycled content in it, and be able to control the end of life. So rather than have it all go to landfill or incineration, our goal is to hopefully get products out into the marketplace that can be reused or does not affect recycling. So what came out of some of those calls, we'll touch on this from time to time, but what came out of those early calls that Shauna and I had, were looking at the material options that they were currently using today and trying to come up with some other options for them. At UPM, we've created, sorry, I've got some lag going on, but we've looked at the standard everyday 3 R's to reduce, recycle, renew. We've added an extra one, this enhanced recycling. And the idea of the enhanced recycling we'll go over towards the end here, but it's meant to give you an option to be able to salvage the primary packaging and recycle the primary packaging. So it allows you to still continue to decorate your containers without an impact to the recycling process. So from a reduced standpoint, you've got used materials that are resource optimized. So we want to make sure that we're not sending more material out into the marketplace than is needed. Recycle is shift to materials that have recycled content in it. So rather than continue to use virgin product, we wanted to use product that today contains a certain amount of recycled content. Renew, we've looked at using products that are from renewable resources. So obviously we can continue to use non-renewable sources. We felt the value in using products that are from a renewable source. Enhanced recycling, as I said before, was products that will allow you to recycle a primary package. Again, we're looking at some of these, some of the reasons for trying to do this. You know, using products that are recyclable or have recycled content will support that circular economy. It'll reduce the burden on virgin raw materials. It has positive impact towards the climate, lowering your emissions as well as water and energy. It increases demand to recyclates. It reduces waste and littering. It also will meet the demands of for recycled content within packaging. Shauna mentioned 2 of the larger box stores in the US, Walmart and Target. They all have some lofty sustainability goals on being able to use recycled content in their packaging to reduce their CO2 emissions. Any small step actually helps count towards those goals. So in using a more sustainable labeling material or something that has less CO2 emissions actually will help them to achieve that. Packaging, for the most part, is considered recyclable if it is collectible, if it's sorted, if it's reprocessed, if it can be manufactured back into new product or packaging, and if it's scalable. And that last one's a big deal. It needs to be scalable or else it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So being able to collect, sort, and reprocess, those are things that we're doing today. We've been doing it for a while. Obviously, we want to increase the scale of it as a society. What we're trying to do now is to hit the last 2 by being able to make products that are manufacturable back into new packaging or new product. And we are giving options to make that more and more scalable. Shauna?
So like I said earlier, small changes make a big difference. And some companies are ready to just jump in with both feet, and other companies are just ready to just dabble. Yes, we want to make a difference, but we want to start slow. So a perfect example is if you're using a paper material or even a film, which you're using a paper liner. Changing to PET liner can cost pennies but it's one step closer because that liner can be recyclable. It also, you can get more labels on a roll, so it's less downtime and it's more efficiencies. So again, it's a small step, but it's in the right direction and it doesn't cost a lot of money. And there's also more ways to be efficient with inks and coatings and laminations. Laminations have come a long way. They're down gauging the laminations so they're not as thick. Same with liners. You know, liners used to be like a 2 mil or 1.2. We're down to 0.92. So they're always trying to downgrade or down gauge material so it is more sustainable. Again, inks, you have water-based or you have UV. We use UV inks. We use both, but we're typically UV, and that's more sustainable because of the curing. And again, they're always coming out with new products. And, you know, it's important for whoever you're using, whatever printer you're using, to ask questions. Ask, you know, are there new materials out there? What are your suggestions? Because that's where we, you know, we take your vision and your brand and we make it a reality, but it's also our job to make sure that we're staying up with, you know, all the new materials and all the offerings that we can help you to reach your goal. Again, and aligning your goal and budget. So people look at sustainability and they're like, oh, it's going to cost me a lot of money. Well, it doesn't always have to cost you a lot of money. There's so many options out there where we give you a good, better, and best. And that's what Ravi and I have done with my customers. They came to me and said, yes, our 2021 goal is to be more sustainable. And I said, okay, tell me more about that. How can we reach that? Well, we're not sure. So what we did is we kind of came together as a team and we offered different solutions. If you went this way, this is how much it's gonna be a 5 or 10% increase. And then, you know, here's another option, which that might be a little bit more. So it's giving everybody options so that they can all reach it, because that's the end goal. We want everybody to be more sustainable. And, you know, any way that we can help them, that's what we're here to do. So that's how we've been successful in, you know, helping our customers, number one, educating them why it's important to be sustainable, and making them look at, you know, what their goals are. Or even I've had an example where a customer came to me and they wanted me to price something, and I was just digging around on their website and I'm like, man, they have huge sustainability goals, but what they're using is not sustainable. So it was actually my idea to say, you know, here's what you're currently using, but I have an idea. I see that you on your website say that your, you know, your mission statement has sustainability. Here's some ways that we can achieve that. So sometimes they're not even thinking that way because they're so stuck on, this is what we use, this is our material. And nobody's come to them with different options. So it's just really working with the printer you have now and making sure they have the right vendors, like Raffle Tech, to be able to get you to the next step.
So I'll pause for a second. I'm going to go back to my story with Shauna and I. You know, after we had those early conversations and we went through some options, and as Shauna's slides that she just described, those good, better, or best options. The good would be what they're using today. We could always go a little bit better and get something that's kind of dipping your toes into the sustainability pool, or you can dive right in. And so we've given multiple options throughout the market that hits different price points as well as different needs. And that's what these little buckets here will go over. What was really neat about that early conversations, the follow-up call that I had was back in December. I was driving in a little bit of a snowstorm, pulled over to the side because Shauna called me and she said, hey, I've got this totally different customer and I want to do the same exact thing that we did before because it worked so well. And she said her end user was so open to the idea of looking at different options that they wanted to do that again. She wanted to go through the same process all over again. So the more we can do that, our company's goal is not to tell everyone to change from what they're doing today. We're giving printers the options to make those small changes or make big changes depending on the brand owner. So we're not going out to the marketplace and saying we won't sell products that are in the marketplace today. we're wanting to sell the various options. So under reduce, Shauna had mentioned down gauging. Down gauging is one of the best ways to start to reduce and reduce the burden on raw materials using thinner products. It doesn't mean that it's not as good as it used to be. In the past, we were limited on how thin we can go. Today, based on newer technology and newer equipment, we could actually go thinner and still be able to give the same product. So face and liners have been down gauged. In the past, you look at polyester liners, for instance, they would be roughly 1.5 mils today. They're 0.92 is kind of a standard. So they've significantly down gauged the liners. Face sheets have been down gauged over time as well. So while you might pick up a product in the marketplace and look at it and it looks exactly the same as it did 10 years ago, there is a good chance that that product is now thinner than it used to be. It doesn't mean that quality has gone away. There are new technologies like linerless. They're phenol and solvent-free packaging components. So both the paper as well as the adhesives, we've removed phenols and solvents out of it to make it more environmentally friendly. Recycled, that's again, it's something that's been around for a long time. What we're trying to do is make it more accessible, make it more usable, and make it more in keeping what the standard products are in the marketplace today. So in the past, we looked at a lot of papers that had post-consumer waste content in it, but there were limitations. The paper wasn't as clean. It had some print issues as well. Today, we're bringing more products to the market that are that utilize PCW content, but is a lot cleaner and performs the same as a standard product. So for the average consumer, I would say the average consumer will buy something from about 3 to 5 feet away when you're walking down the aisle in the grocery store. For the average consumers, they don't notice that there is a difference there. It can be marketed, but it's not necessarily something that's in your face, which is good because it does give people of different age categories that option to continue to buy products that they're comfortable with. The newer trend here is utilizing post-consumer recycled content back into films. So our liners are utilizing up to 90 to 100% post-consumer recycled content back in it. We've got some products whose face sheet is 90 to 100% post-consumer recycled as well. So that's a different trend. For the most part, most of the films that you would see out in the marketplace would utilize virtually no recycled content in it. So making that shift is a big deal. Renewable, as I mentioned before, these are products that come from a renewable resource. So rather than continuing to pull petroleum out of the earth to continue to make films, we've come up with different technologies to manufacture films out of byproducts out of paper making. So rather than utilize fossil fuels, we're using a product out of paper making that goes into the same exact film manufacturing process. So new technologies like that allows us to be able to use more and more renewable resource in our primary packaging, in our labeling. The last one is enhanced recycling, and these are wash-off products. Wash-off products allow you to, through the recycling process, especially with products like PET, through that recycling process, it goes through a grind stage, and then it goes through a wash cycle. And these adhesives allow you to remove the label cleanly and be able to collect a clean, high-value polyester flake. By being able to do that, it gives you more outlets for the polyester to be recycled back into primary packaging. So, the last thing I wanted to kind of go over is label life. Label life is a tool that we've used with printers, and we've used it with end users as well. Usually, our printer partners will request this. But this gives you a really good snapshot of what you're really trying to save. So these two products are equal, okay? And the product codes, those are our internal product codes. But for the most part, these two products are equivalent. The RAF Next products come out of a paper making process that allows us to actually put out a paper into the marketplace that is carbon positive. The trees will actually remove more carbon dioxide out of the environment than it goes into the paper making process. The PCR liner here is 90 to 100% post-consumer recycled content in it. Whereas this entire construction here, were all virgin products. So it's virgin paper, virgin polyester. None of it's been recycled. And these are the savings that you tend to see. From an energy standpoint, water and CO2, these are the numbers that you can actually save for that product, just making that shift. Okay. These numbers are large. You start looking at the percentages, and that can relate to whatever volumes you need to use. So this is based on using 200,000 MSIs. It's a fairly large amount, but the percentages won't change if you were to reduce the amount of material. What's neat about how we can do label life calculations is we can relate it to something that's a little bit more person friendly. So no one really looks at this and says, well, hey, you've reduced that much CO2, but what does it really mean? Well, if you use 200,000 MSI as a calculator, you can save 32 transatlantic flights. So it's quite a large number when you start looking at how much it can actually impact. What this really helps is companies like Walmart and Target, when they're looking at reducing their CO2 emissions, these tools are really, really helpful for them. And I think, Shauna, you've probably requested a couple of dozen of them over the years, and it's great. We are able to put these together. The calculations are all very easy to come up with. It does take a little bit of work, and we usually try to make it as accurate as possible. So.
Yeah, just like Justin commented, it's a great tool. I love it. It's, for me, some people are visual. You have to see, what you're doing, and I absolutely love being able to do this with my customers, to say, look, this is the difference that you can make. And we've done this on 3 different levels. Again, when we go with the good, better, best option, we do one for each different step, so you can see the difference, how much you're saving overall. So it's one of my favorite things.
So, and with that, our closing slides, let's work together for a more sustainable future. There's a lot of little things that we've touched on in this presentation, this webinar. There's a lot more detail out there, so if anybody is interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out. Our contact information is right here. And with that, I'll go ahead and I'll send it back, and I'll open it up for questions. So.
Sure, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So we did actually have a question from Justin, Ravi, and Shauna. Could you discuss the options to make the packaging more scalable? I think it's a huge challenge for small businesses. Who wants to answer that question? Does anyone have a response? Ravi or Shauna, who wants to answer that?
Shauna, do you want to start? No, we can bounce back and forth. Okay, so to try to make it more scalable, when you look at smaller brands trying to make that impact and do that, actually, I look at it as being you actually have an advantage. Smaller brands, you do have that luxury of being able to tell a printer, this is what you really want, this is what you need. The barrier you're going to have is in price. And working with some of the various printers out there, you can ask them for these options. So to try to make a big jump, obviously, as Shauna had mentioned before, can usually impact your price points. But if you went in and said, hey, I'm interested in sustainability, I want to see what options you may have, whether it be in the face sheet, the label material you're using. So can you give me a few different options to look at? If they come back and they tell you, well, no, these are the products that we recommend, this is all you can really use, I would push them push a little bit harder, try to get a little bit more detail, try to see if they can get products out to you that will fit your needs. As you said on there, your second comment about the label life calculator or LCA calculator, we can definitely do those for you. We can do it through your printer. You now have my contact. You can contact me directly, or you can go through someone like Shauna. Ideally, going through your printer is the best way because they'll know exactly how much you need and how those calculators are a little bit more relatable. So, Ian, can you unmute? I guess unmute everyone, and that way we can have a dialogue.
Hey, thank you very much, Ravi. So I'm Justin Retmeister from Pixel Specialty Solutions. So we're actually a part of your supply chain in terms of providing the label loop. We provide the recycled content in your label loop. In addition to that, my background had me working at Sistana, which is a primary de-inking facility that is the recycler as part of the circular economies you guys do in the States.
Yeah.
The question that I had was more along the lines of how can we promote circular economies at small mom and pop label shops where we don't have milk runs going to pick up their waste? How can we, you can do collections at distribution centers, but how do you entice somebody in California to collect and ship waste back to Wisconsin to be a part of a circular economy?
Yeah.
So, and it's a hard question, so forgive me.
No. It's a hard question I hear a lot. So I'll be completely honest with you. I hear it quite a bit. Using what Justin's referring to is we actually have a program that's out there that will pick up liner waste from various larger end users and be able to bring it back to recycling. The upside to that is obviously you're not throwing it out. It's not ending up at landfill. Justin mentioned Label Loop, which is an actual product that we've brought back to market. It's a 30% post-consumer waste paper. Excellent product, but there are some challenges in being able to get that waste liner back so that we can recycle it. We see the same barrier in films, and we're trying to do the same thing there as well. Part of the problem is how do you balance it? So we have a threshold that we need to meet for pickup in order to make it worthwhile picking it up. Otherwise, we're going to spend more money in logistics and in shipping it, in fuel for trucks and everything else to be able to make it worthwhile. It just doesn't make sense. So right now, our barrier is high. It's roughly a full truckload in order to be able to pick up and bring back. So for the smaller mom and pop shops, it becomes a challenge. We have a couple printers who have actually acted as waste stations, and they've had their customers just drop off waste and we pick up at their sites. Being able to set up a milk run might be something we can do in the future, but it requires a lot of collaboration between the brands. So we can definitely host that collaboration, but it's very hard for us to go back to our larger end users and say, hey, we want you 5 to work together with these 20 small mom and pop shops to be able to do this. We really hope that at some point the smaller mom and pop shops will get together and start doing that. The program is newer, so it is a little more challenging because of the scale.
Okay, so hopefully that helped answer the question. Shauna, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I think I have a question. It's not totally formulated, so it might just be one of those long rants. But I do have a question about, so we have a lot of different, business partners that we work with, and like Ravi was saying at the beginning, they sell, food package, they have food products, and they have a very strong mission and vision statement that includes environmental sustainability, whether that's selling a plant-based food product, for example. And so, part of, I think, the challenge is communicating to them, that this is an important element of their business, while they're doing a whole bunch of other things. So I guess, how can we better, I know this webinar is a good way, but how can we better communicate to them? Business owners are very busy. So in a very short kind of way so that they understand it, it's bite-sized so that they can actually like the information disseminated very, very easily. What do you think is the best approach to convince businesses that, sustainable packaging and labeling solutions are affordable? I think that's my question.
So we've, I think the best way, because we tend to stay out of the price point conversations. We leave that to the printer. That's honestly, it's the way it should be. Our goal is to try to bring options that are going to allow the printers to do, to basically hit those price points. So a couple of our products are extremely priced competitively enough to be able to hit those small little changes, where you do have upcharges in products that are, for instance, our products that we manufacture out of our recycled content films, or our forest products. They tend to be higher priced. So those are really more for the people that are all in on this. But a lot of the options that we do bring, utilizing recycled liner, utilizing recycled content in the paper products, they are priced competitively. We recognize that if we go into every opportunity with much higher prices, then those conversations don't last as long as they do when we come in with something that's a little bit more aggressive. So what we're finding, you looked at that earlier slide, we do find that a lot of people are willing to pay more for some of these products. Now, that message may not come from a large box store. They do not want to pay more, but at the same time, they're recognizing that their consumers are willing to do that, and in order for them to hit their goals, they're being pushed to make these changes as well.
Sure.
And some of that's good, because you do want them to drive towards getting stuff that are a lot more sustainable. So our goal as suppliers is to try to give products that's going to be able to allow Shauna and her company to bring products to brand owners that are not going to really just hit their wallets.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I think that answers my question. Thank you. Okay, so I think that if there's not any other questions, I think that brings us sort of to the end here of our webinar here today. So I'm going to stop recording.